Go ahead.
It says the communication also indicated that His Excellency the President will then head Guinea on Friday. I think it's better if we put head to, so that it makes it very clear. Thank you.
Okay. Table. Please take note. Page number 9. Page number 10. Page 11. Page 12. Page 13. Page 14. Page number 15. Page number 16. Page 17. Page 18. Page number 19. Page 20. Page 21. Page 22. Page 23. And finally, page 24. Honorable members, the votes and proceedings of the 11th sitting of the second meeting of the first session held on Thursday, 10 June 2021, as corrected, are adopted as the true records of proceedings. Leadership. May I be directed?
Speaker, I think we can proceed on to item 5. Questions?
Okay. Item number 5. Page 2. There is a question that stands in the name of a member for Dadekotopon, Honorable Rita Odole Soga, to the Minister for Western Housing.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Works and Housing what plans the ministry has towards the dredging of the Peshi Lagoon in the Dadekotopon constituency. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Works and Housing has taken note of urgent need to dredge the Peshi Lagoon and is currently implementing the La Teshi Coastal Protection Project, which includes the dredging of the Peshi Lagoon in the Dadekotopon constituency. Mr. Speaker, the Peshi Lagoon runs through highly populated areas in the Accra metropolis and is key to the stormwater management in these communities. The Peshi Lagoon, which is used to be an important water body for fishing, has over the years become heavily silted with debris as a result of poor waste disposal practices by the communities, which among others has resulted in the extinction of aquatic life and the reduction of its capacity to store water. Consequently, Mr. Speaker, areas adjoining the lagoon have been exposed to increased risks of flooding, which include potentially lead to loss of life, livelihoods, and property. Additionally, beach erosion along the coastal stretch results in the development of sand barriers, which block the entrance of the lagoon into the sea. This situation results in a poor flow between the sea and the Peshi Lagoon and impacts negatively on water quality and aquatic life in the lagoon. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry is conscious that at the current rate of siltation, the cost of dredging will only increase if not addressed in a timely manner. It is for this reason that my ministry is currently taking urgent steps to implement the Teshi Coastal Protection Project. Under this project, Mr. Speaker, a coastal stretch of 5 kilometers will be protected and a minimum volume of 200,000 cubic meters of silt will be dredged from the Peshi Lagoon. The Ministry of Works and Housing has completed the evaluation of relevant proposal and is completing the necessary financial arrangement the works under the project. The dredging of the Peshi Lagoon, along with the coastal protection works, will greatly help mitigate flood risk, improve sanitation, and the environment. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry will update this August House as we make further progress. Respectfully submitted, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Honourable Member, any supplementary question?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Listening to the Minister's the paragraph 5, the Ministry of Works and Housing has completed the evaluation of relevant proposal and is completing the necessary financial arrangements to start the works under the project. I wish to find out from the Minister the timelines that have been set to start this project. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Minister. Any timelines?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm not in the position to provide timelines, but I'm very hopeful. But in the course of this year, we should be able to start this project. Yeah.
Yes, he's hopeful that in course of this year. Any other supplementary question? Yes, Honourable Member for Bongo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, from the Minister's answer, he indicates that he cannot give timelines, but that he's hopeful that the project will be commenced this year. On what basis? What are the bases for which he is hopeful? At least so that everybody is aware that because of X, Y, and Z, that is why the Minister is hopeful. So on what basis are you so hopeful?
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When it comes to finance, it's being handled by the Ministry of Finance, and we are in active engagement with them. And that is why I'm able to tell you that I cannot give timelines, but I'm very hopeful that in the course of the year, we should be able to start. Thank you.
Good. We shift to question number 11, page 2, which stands the name of Honorable Abrajifa Gomashi, member for Keti South. Honorable, around, you can ask your question.
Mr. Speaker, please, can we get your permission to ask the question on behalf of the Honorable Abrajifa?
Very well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Works and Housing what urgent steps the ministry is taking to permanently address the devastating effect of the tidal waves on the Agaveji, Salakope, and Amuchinu communities in the Ketu South constituency.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Works and Housing acknowledges the urgent need to permanently address the devastating effects of tidal waves on the Agavaji, Salakope, and Namachunu communities in the Ketu South constituency. These communities are on the same coastal stretch as Blekusu, which is in the Ketu South constituency. This coastal stretch is characterized by narrow beaches, and the effect of tidal waves along the coastal stretch are devastating. It is as a result, this has resulted in beach erosion, loss of land, property, and sometimes flooding in the event of wave overstopping. The erosion of the beaches also impacts negatively on fishing, which is the main source of livelihood of the communities along these coastal stretches. Consequently, in July 2015, the Ministry of Works and Housing engaged Mrs. Amandi Holding to design, construct coastal protection works under this stretch, starting from Blekusu and working towards Agavaji, Salakope, and Amuchuni under the Blekusu Coastal Protection Project. This project, which protects 4,300 meters, that's 4.3 kilometers, of the coastal stretch, was completed in July 2019 and has functioned effectively, protecting lives, livelihood, and property, while reviving fishing activities. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Works and Housing knows the sense of urgency for undertaking the second phase of the project to protect the Agavaji, Salakope, and Amuchini communities and others to the east of Blekusu. To this end, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry is currently taking steps to implement the second phase of the project. Our Ministry has finalized the relevant proposal and is completing the necessary financial arrangement to start the works under the second phase of the project. Mr. Speaker, in April 2021, a technical team from the Hydrological Services Department of our Ministry, upon my directive, traveled to the community to engage the municipal chief executive of Ketu South Municipality and some community leaders on the matter of the implementation of the second phase of the project. The completion of the works envisaged under the second phase of the project will cover a minimum coastal stretch of 8,000 meters, that's 8 kilometers, and this will ensure a total protection of the people of Agavazi, Salakope, and Namachuni communities. Mr. Speaker, my ministry will provide updates to this August House as we make further progress. Respectfully submitted, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member. I've seen a member have just walked in. Any supplementary question?
No. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Try to cut my breath. I thank the House and yourself for allowing this question, and I thank the Honourable Minister for attending to the House to answer the question. I'm looking forward to an immediate and urgent response to the situation that afflicts my people. we have over the years made promises on what we are going to do. I was in Katu South in 2017.
Yes, honorable member.
Supplementary. Just
Supplementary question. I want the question,
yes.
not.
So, Mr. Speaker, between 2017 and now, I just want to know when exactly the second phase will start. The gap has been wide.
Yes, honorable minister. She wants to know exactly when the project, the second phase, will start.
Mr. Speaker, just as I explained in my earlier answer, I'm in active engagement with the Ministry of Finance, and I'm very hopeful that in the course of the year, we'll get a commencement to start. I have personally directed the technical team visiting the site and assuring the people. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, I'm scheduled to visit these communities to assure the people there of government intention to implement these projects. So, my colleague member, please rest assured that government is committed to implementing this project, and in the course of the year, the commencement will start. Thank you very much.
Is it possible to engage the honorable member if you are going to the constituency?
In fact, I've had an engagement with her, and she knows the efforts that government is putting in place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any supplementary question?
Yes,
Last one.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Just to ask the Honorable Minister whether funding has already been secured, and if it hasn't, where
Honorable member is already said is in serious engagement with the Ministry of Finance. So I think your question will not be tolerated. You can ask another question, please.
Mr. Speaker, I only ask again because I want an assurance that it's been captured in the budget and it will be addressed. I don't wish to terrorize the Honorable Minister, but I just want to know that it's been captured in the budget, and that will give me more hope. And I do agree that we have engaged, but this is for the benefit of my people. I thank you.
Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Yes, the sea defense project is captured in the budget.
Very well. Yes, Deputy Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Minister says that in April this year, he sent a technical team to the area to visit some of the communities. After that visit, in May, latter part of May, the tidal waves destroyed the community more. Have you sent another team, or you yourself visited the area after that devastation on the community?
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I haven't sent another technical team, but like I said before, I myself am scheduled to visit there tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Thank you.
Yes, member for North Tongue.
Most grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to find out from the Honour, this is a very urgent situation, and it's a national disaster. It has led to constituents being displaced. Is the minister aware if there are any measures being put in place in the interim to contain the situation, take care of those who have been displaced before the actual construction begins? Measures being put to take care of constituents who have been displaced and dislodged by the tidal waves.
Yes, Minister. Any emergency arrangement?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, regarding the issue of what to do with those who have been displaced, I think it lies under the Ministry of Interior, specifically NADMO. But I am aware that NADMO has already sent items to the people who have been displaced. And I will find out if more has to be done, and we will work towards addressing it. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Good. Let me at this juncture invite Minister for Communication and Digitization. Minister for Communication. There is a question. Honorable Minister for Western Housing, please, you are discharged. Sorry. Good. Question number 3. That stands the name of a member for Bungugu. Honorable Abednego Azuma Bandin. If you are around, please, you may ask your question.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister responsible for communication and digitalization when Ghana will fully migrate from analog to digital terrestrial television. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Ghana, through the Ministry of Communications and Digitalization, commenced the migration from analog terrestrial television to digital terrestrial television broadcasting in 2015. In 2019, the head end at Kanda and all 42 transmission sites nationwide were integrated fully to provide digital terrestrial television signals for a population of 90%. We are in the process of providing green solar power to all the sites to reduce our operational expenses. Once completed, it will reduce power costs by 80%. All licensed free-to-air broadcasters are currently transmitting digitally from the national DTT network. The 10% of the population who cannot be reached by the terrestrial network due to their location are receiving digital television broadcasting through the satellite inbuilt service on the network, direct to home. The International Telecommunications Union, ITU, granted African countries an extension of the deadline from 2015 to 2020. Would like to inform the House that Ghana achieved full migration from analog to digital terrestrial television ahead of the international deadline of December 2020. What is currently outstanding is the analog, which will be done when sufficient set-top boxes have been procured. And barring the supply chain difficulties imposed by the COVID pandemic, STBs hope to be received in country by the end of the year. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Member. Member, any supplementary question?
Yes, Right Honorable Speaker. Can the Minister tell us who manages the DTT platform?
Minister, are you minded to answer the question?
Mr. Speaker, the question was specific about when the migration will be completed. Management of the platform did not feature in the question, so I'd be grateful if the member could ask a substantive question, then I'd come and respond, prepare and respond adequately. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, yes.
Honorable Member, if you are desirous to ask that particular question, then you file a separate question. He came here to answer specific questions. So if you are desirous to ask such a question, then you file a special question so that you research and come and give you the appropriate answer. So, any supplementary question?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is a follow-up, and as the minister responsible for communications, I believe that she has every information relating to the DTT project, and therefore should be able to give an answer to this. Mr. Speaker, I will also want. Mr. Speaker, I think that the minister should be able to give an answer before I proceed to my second.
Honorable member, I have said if you intend to ask that particular question, come out with a special question so that the minister will prepare and come back to the House on to that.
I'm guided, Mr. Speaker, but may I know who pays for the management of the DTT platform from the minister?
Minister, are you minded to answer that question?
If you could please repeat the question, I didn't get it.
Mr. Speaker, the question is, who pays for the management of the DTT platform?
The platform is managed by the government of Ghana, which pays for it.
Yes, your final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And how much has been spent so far? We want to know how much government has spent on this project so far.
Yes, Honorable Minister, he wants to know how much the government has spent so far.
Mr. Speaker, this is a House of Record. So if the member would be minded to ask a substantive question, I will come with the full facts on it. I do not want to make any answer from the top of my head because this is a House of Record. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Yes, Honorable Member for Ningo Pram.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, in the Minister's response, she says that we wish to inform the House that Ghana has achieved full migration from analog to digital terrestrial television ahead of the international deadline of December 2020. I want to understand, is the migration just the movement from analog to digital, or the migration is complete or involves the switch off? Because in her answer, she says that what is outstanding is the analog switch off phase. So if you say we have achieved migration, full migration, in the next line you say there is still an outstanding switch off. I want to understand what is being deemed to be full migration. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I indicated in my answer, currently, all free-to-air broadcasters are broadcasting digitally from the national DTT platform. And so far as the technical aspects of the migration is concerned, migration is complete because the broadcasting is digital. However, those who do not have digital handsets, digital television sets, still can't receive analog signals because we are in a dual illumination phase. But so far as the ITU requirements are concerned, Ghana is compliant. What is outstanding is the switch off of the analog signals, and that will be done once we procure sufficient set-top boxes to replace, to provide to those who do not have digital television sets.
No, honorable member, you can only answer supplementary question. Yes, honorable member, that gentleman, what's your constituency's name?
Nanergo Gambaga, Mr. Speaker.
You can ask the question.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to find out from the Minister why TV stations on the DTT platforms are not paying.
Yes, Honorable Minister. Come again. Mr. Questioner, can you repeat the question?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to find out why TV stations on the DTT platform are not paying.
Minister, did you hear?
They are not paying for the services.
Mr. Speaker, as I indicated, I would be grateful if I'm provided an opportunity to give a full statement on this to the House, because there are other issues apart from what the member has asked. But the government took upon itself to build and operate this platform, and all television broadcasters currently on it are not paying for it. They will at some stage, because we need to recover the cost and pay for the continuing operations and management of it. But as to why, it's a policy decision that has been taken. But they are aware that once we are ready for the full migration and the analog switch off, they will be required to pay for the services that are being provided on the platform. Thank you.
Okay, last question. Member for Impani?
Yes.
Is that so?
Yeah,
okay.
Impani constituency. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the answering of the question, the Honourable Minister made it that what is outstanding is the analog switch-off phase, which will be done when sufficient set-top boxes have been procured. I want to know, was the procurement of the set-top boxes budgeted for in the 2021 budget?
Honourable Minister.
Was the question that whether it was budgeted for? Yes, it was.
Yes. Honourable Member, you can only ask one supplementary question, please. We move to question number 16, and it stands the name of the same Honourable Abednego Azuma Banding. Honourable, you may ask your second question.
Thank you, right, Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity. I rise to ask the Minister responsible for communication when or how many communities are to benefit from the rural telephony projects in 2021. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Communications and Digitalization, through the Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communications, GIFIC, launched the Rural Telephony and Digital Inclusion Project in partnership with Huawei in November 2020 to construct 2,016 cell sites in various communities across the country. The novel Rural Star technology being used, developed in Ghana by Huawei in 2018, is a cost-effective solar-powered solution which will save the government up to 70% of the cost of traditional cell sites and provide voice and data connectivity services for over 3.4 million people in unserved and underserved communities to accelerate economic development. All sites on the RTP network will also be connected to the National Roaming Project and provide shared infrastructure for all mobile network operators to provide their services to consumers. Mr. Speaker, a total of 1,000 communities have been earmarked to benefit from the Rural Telephony Project in 2021. Thank you.
Honourable Member, any supplementary question?
Yes, Right Honourable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the communities sharing borders with other countries, the neighboring countries, such as Burkina Faso, Togo, and Cote d'Ivoire, a peculiar challenge with network issues. They are either unserved or underserved. May I know if these communities will be given priority?
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the list of beneficiary communities was approved by Parliament, I believe, in July 2020, and they would all be served once the project is completed. I'm not sure about priority. Every unserved and underserved community needs connectivity because we cannot discriminate. It will be difficult for me to decide which are more important than others. And so I'll leave that determination for the technical people who are rolling out this project and under the Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communications. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Yes, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm asking for priorities because there is an acceptable range at which one country can penetrate into another country. And these countries, because they are border towns, don't have the benefits of getting quality of the services that we render. May I know whether the Minister will consider to give priority once again?
Honourable Member, I think once priority comes in, it means the Minister has already answered the question. Is that not so? The Minister, if I got him right, it means all the list has been already given and the House is aware of the communities. So another question, and that is the last question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I know when the people of Bunkrugu, particularly communities such as Kambatiak, Bankoni, Kambagu, Najong, will benefit from this project? Thank you.
Minister, are you mindful to answer the question?
Mr. Speaker, if the honourable member will let me know the names of these communities, I would find out whether they are included in this project or not. As at now, I'll be unable to answer the question as he has posed. Thank you.
Honourable Minister, we are grateful to you for attending. Oh, okay, sorry. Question number 17. That stands the name for member for Sisala West. Honourable Member, you may ask your question, please.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for
Communication and Digitalization, what steps will be taken to improve mobile telephony reception in the following communities in the Sisala West constituency: Facho, Duye, Zini, Bal, Kopolma, Kusali, Kandia, Kunkako, Kuzeni, and Bhopal. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, GIFEC has acquired lands for the rural telephonic project for 8 communities in the Sisala West District, namely, and please forgive my pronunciation, Dasima, Nyimeti, Kusali, Sobele, Bawiasibele, Henyengumu, Zini Clinic, and Palawie Wasai. It has already mounted network poles ready for connectivity in Bawiasibele, Nyimeti, Sobele, Kusali, and Dasima. The rest of the communities have been scheduled for drive test simulation after technical review. MTN has conducted analysis on Fachu, Duwe, Zini, Baal, Puma, Buti, Kusali, Kandia, Kunkoku, Pusani, and Bukpal townships in the Sisala West District. But they currently do not have immediate plans to connect these towns. Mr. Speaker, Vodafone has also indicated that the Kusali town has been earmarked for connectivity for 2021. Airtel Tigo indicated that 3 sites have been deployed in Sisala West with the provision of 2G and 3G services in Golu, Fiemuasani. There is ongoing engagement between GIFEC and Airtel Tigo for the deployment of 2G and 3G services at Fachu, Duwe, Baal, Buti, Kusali, and Kandia communities as part of the rural telephony project in 2021. And they are also considering the feasibility of deploying sites at Zini, Kulpulma, Kunkoku, Pusani, and Bukba. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, any supplementary question?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to find out from the Honorable Minister when the project will be completed so that these communities can also have access to the telephone network that we are enjoying in Ghana. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we're working on completing this rural telephony project by the end of next year. Thank you.
Yes, your last supplementary question.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to find out from the Honorable Minister whether funds have been made available for this particular project. Thank you.
The question is overruled, please. Any supplementary question? Yes, we move to question number 40, page 3. Stands the name of a member for Boli by Boy, Honorable Yusuf Suleimana. Honorable member, you may ask your question.
Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful for this opportunity. I rise to ask the Minister for Communication and Digitalization when the following communities will be connected to mobile network. I, Sapa, I, Selpe, I, Sonyo, IV, Chache, V, Babato, VI, Chibrinya, VII, Malwe, VII, Teslima. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, GIFEC has acquired lands for the rural telephony project in 10 communities in Bole Bamboy, namely Chibrenyo, Dendenyiri, Sonyo, Teselima, Kwame Nkwesi, Konjuma Chanchere, Janice, Sakwa, Insuna, and Babato. GIFEC has also scheduled Seripe and Malue for drive test simulation after technical review. MTN has indicated that they do not have immediate plans to connect the following towns in Bole Bamboy: Sakwa, Seripe, Sonyo, Charache, Babato, Chibrinyo, Malue, and Tesilima. Mr. Speaker, the existing sites of Airtel Tigo are in Bole and Bamboy. Airtel Tigo will leverage on the rural telephony project of GIFEC to extend network coverage to all the other communities. Glow Mobile has backbone sites in close proximity to Sakwa, Seripe, Malue, and Tesilma, which will be upgraded to base transceiver stations to enable mobile coverage in these communities. Glow Mobile has plans for future upgrade and expansion in northern Ghana, and these communities will be considered during that rollout. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, we wish to inform the House that the Ministry will work in close collaboration with GIFEC and the network operators to provide connectivity to all unserved and underserved communities in Ghana through the Rural Telephony Project, which will close the gap in the MNO's rollout plans and ensure universal access. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honourable Member, any supplementary questions?
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker, in the Minister's answer, paragraph 2, and with your permission, I want to read. MTN has indicated that they currently do not have immediate plans to connect the following towns in Bole Bamboy, Sapa. I want to make reference to official report Wednesday, 28th November 2018, paragraph 2999, column 2999, paragraph 3, last sentence. There is also an ongoing construction of a base station at Sapa by MTN. Mr. Speaker, how does the minister reconcile this? On one breath, they are saying that they don't have any plans for creating a network to this place. But there's evidence that last 2018, when she was the minister, the same ministry, when she was the minister there, came here, and it's on record to tell us that there was an ongoing construction of such a base there. How do we reconcile this? Thank you. I'll give it to you.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I have indicated countless times in answering questions on when connectivity will be extended to various parts of the country, the network operators are only obliged by virtue of the licenses they've got to extend connectivity to district capitals. Any other community they extend connectivity to is part of their own rollout plans. They may decide to change their rollout plans at any time. All the answers that we provide are answers that are given by the network operators. If in 2018 MTN had decided to set up a base station in Sakwa, and for whatever reason they have changed their minds, we cannot compel them to with the work that they started doing. The information they provided to us when we send them the list of these communities is as I have presented to the House today in 2021. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honorable member. Any other supplementary question?
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, from the minister's answer, will she admit that MTN misled her because her ministry came here and told us that, and I want to read again, there is also an ongoing construction of a base station at Sapa by MTN. This house, 2018, that's what we were told. Today, that same ministry, there's nothing like that. Was she misled by MTN? Thank you.
Yes, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the facts are as I have presented to. I will not make any value judgment on them one way or the other. In 2018, they notified the ministry that they were planning or were in the process of constructing a base station in Sapa. In 2021, they have informed us that they have no immediate plans of connecting these towns. This is the information that we have been provided and that I make available to this honorable House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable, I think we have you. Anyway, the last question, the last supplementary question. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, still on that same paragraph, item V, that is Babato, where MTN said they have no plans, okay, to connect this community to network. My information, reliable information, is that there's a company called Babato Farms. Babato Farms had made some payments to MTN to provide connectivity to this area. But the same MTN is saying that they don't have plans to take this network there. Will they, as the sector minister, will she consider finding out from MTN whether indeed they have received some payment and whether or not they will be extending this network to this community? Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'll be grateful if the honorable member would file a substantive question on this matter, and then I will seek information from MTN on it. It will be impossible for me to stand here off the cuff and provide an answer to him on that matter. So I would be grateful if he would file a substantive question, and then we will formally put it before the company and allow them to respond. I think that will be the fair course of action to take, so that we don't unduly create any impression about the work output of any of these network operators. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Honorable member for Boli Bambo, you've exhausted your time. Please, you've exhausted your time. The answer I got from the minister is that you can file a separate question. You see, I'm inclined to go with her. This is a house of records. You have to give information which is very accurate, so that reference can be made to it any time, any day. So here, and he doesn't have the appropriate responses, please, we should allow that. If you are still minded of getting information with regard to that, please file a separate question. She will come and answer the question, please. Yes, honorable member for Bongo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I agree with the minister when she says that she is not ready to place a judgment value on the two responses that have been given. I understand her. My question to her directly is this. When responses are given to her by a ministry, or maybe an agency or a department to come and report to Parliament, do they conduct due diligence on those responses before they come to give to us?
Well, Minister, are you minded to answer the question?
Yes, we do.
Yes, Honourable Member for Ningo Prampram.
Mr. Speaker, on the same matter, and rightly so as you ruled, Parliament is a house of records, and the minister rightly says she must give us truthful information. It is evident from the minister's response today that the response she put on record in this house of record, this honorable house in 2018, was not entirely truthful. And that is why the Honorable Bawa is asking if due diligence is done. So can I ask, was due diligence done on the response that was presented to this House in 2018?
Honorable Member, that's the more reason why personally I'm inclined that we should give ministers who come here to answer questions, if they are not up to the task with respect to information, we give the minister the opportunity to go and come back. At least from what I gather from member from Boli Bamboy, the answers that were provided in about 3 years ago is not what is occurring now. So please, let's give the minister the opportunity to come back if we are desirous to answer, ask the same question, please. Yes, Honorable Deputy Leader.
Mr. Speaker, can the minister give us time to come back to the House to brief the House on the question being asked by the member?
Deputy Leader, the minister cannot come if a question is not filed. So if a member filed a question, obviously.
Mr. Speaker, the issue raised by Honorable Member for Nigo Pram is that the minister gave an answer to a question in 2018, which, according to the answer that she provided today, portrays or shows that what was done previously probably has a problem. So he wanted to know, was due diligence done at the time that she provided the answer in 2018? And your good self said that we should give her time to come back. So I just want to know, when will she come back?
Honorable Leader, that particular question was answered. Was due diligence done to that? He said yes. So that question was answered. What I'm saying is that when you bring a minister here, we are entitled to ask supplementary questions. But the supplementary question should be related to the question. Other than that, the minister may not be able to give us facts with respect to the answer that will be provided to us. So that is why I'm saying if members will go a bit away of the main substantive question, then it will be better to file a separate question so that the minister can come and give us accurate responses. So on that note, I will thank the minister for attending to the House and ask that he has been discharged. Minister, you are discharged. Yes, leader, any direction?
Speaker, we can move on to item number 7, advertisers' presentation of papers, and start with item 7A. I recognize, Speaker, I recognize that you have admitted a couple of statements, but if you indulge me, if we can do the laying of these papers and some other items to be moved, then subsequently we could come on to take statement. Speak up.
Very well. Item number 7 on today's other paper. Page 3, 7A, Minister for Environment, Science and Technology.
Cooperation agreement between the Government of the Republic of Ghana, acting through the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology and Innovation, Science, Technology and Innovation, and the Innovation, acting through the Federal Department of the Environment, Transport, Energy and Communications, towards the implementation of the Article 6 of the Paris Climate Change Agreement.
Honorable members, the agreement has been duly presented. It is referred to the Committee on Environment, Science and Technology for consideration and report. Item.
Speaker, with your kind leave, if you may allow the Honorable Minister for Health to move item number 7, to lay these items, item number 7, B and C, instead of the advertised ministers.
Honorable Leader, which item are you talking about?
Speaker, I can see my good friend and respected Deputy Minority Leader on his feet. Speaker, these ministers are unavoidably unavailable. And hence, I'm pleading that the minister responsible for health does the laying on their behalf. Specific to item number 7, B and C.
Honorable Leader, is there any reason why they are not here?
Speaker, first of all, these are ministers who are very regular to this house. And as of the last time I engaged them this morning and this afternoon. There was some miscommunication, especially related to the time of sitting. Because earlier on, the communication was out there that we were going to sit at 10 a.m. Then subsequently we got a confirmed information, Speaker, from your outfit that it had rather been changed from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So it's inadvertent. And I plead my colleague to accede to this for us to make progress. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my colleague is giving reasons for the absence of the ministers in the chamber. Now, because of the change in the sitting time. Mr. Speaker, we have the health minister here. He's also a minister who is scheduled to perform duty here. We just had the minister for communication. So what prevents the 2 ministers from coming if it is only the change of what? Sitting time. Mr. Speaker, is it because you have not communicated to them on time? If that, then you are not doing your work as a whip, or they do not take the work of the House serious.
Honorable Deputy Leader, please, let's indulge. Let's indulge him. So, Honorable Leader, who is standing in for?
Speaker, we are respected Honorable Ajimamenu, Minister responsible for health, who do the laying on their behalf.
Very well. So, item number 7B, where stands the name of Minister for Fish Worker Agriculture Development.
Budget performance report in respect of the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development for the period January to December 2020.
Honorable members, the report has been duly presented, fed to the Committee on Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs for the consideration and report. Item number 7C, which stands the name of Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration.
Memorandum of Understanding between the Government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, and the Government of the United Arab Emirates on mutual exemption of entry visa requirements in respect of diplomatic, service or special, and ordinary passport holders.
Yes, honorable members, the Memorandum of Understanding has been duly presented. It is referred to the Committee on Foreign Affairs for consideration and report. Honorable members, item number 7D.
Speaker, I seek your indulgence once more to lay this on behalf of the First Deputy Speaker and Chairman of the Appointment Committee.
Yes, Leader. Yes, very well. You can go ahead.
Fifth report of the Appointments Committee on the President's nominations for ministerial and deputy ministerial appointments.
Honorable members, the report has been presented. It is for distribution to honorable members. Yes, item 7E by the chairman.
Yes, Speaker, under the circumstance, we have to defer 7E because leadership have conferred and the committee of the whole has still not been able to meet yet. So we may have to defer 7E and then F accordingly, Speaker.
So we are deferring 7E, which is in respect of I.
Exactly, Speaker. I, yes.
And 7F. Or we can do the 7F.
Speaker, we can take 7F.
Okay, very well. 7F by the chairman of the committee.
Report of the Committee on Health on the addendum agreement dated 30th July 2020 between the Government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Health, and NMS Infrastructure Limited for a restated contract price of $38,841,352 United States dollars, required to complete the full scope of works at the Fominata Quarry and Kumewu sites under the suppliers contract agreement between the Government of the Republic of Ghana and NMS Infrastructure Limited, United Kingdom, for the design, construction and equipping of 7 district hospitals and provision of an integrated IT system by NMS Infrastructure Limited.
Honorable members, the report has been duly presented. It is for distribution to honorable members. Yes, honorable leader, any indications?
Speaker, exactly. We can move on to item 9, advertised as a motion, which is a procedural motion.
Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Chief Whip is referring to the report that you have just instructed to be distributed to members. He's asking her to move the motion, the procedural motion for that report. I don't know whether we can do it because we just instructed that the report should be distributed.
Speaker, no argument. We could then just come to item 8, which is a motion, and take item 8 while the distribution is ongoing. I'm fully aware that the reports are out and members have it, but I will accede to the deputy minority leader, and then we can take item 8, motion.
Motion number 8.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Chairman. Yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this Honorable House adopts the report of the Joint Committee on Local Government, Rural Development, Works and Housing, Environment, Science and Technology on the inspection visit to monitor the construction of regional integrated composting and recycling plants in the country and related matters. Mr. Speaker, I now present the report of the committee, the Joint Committee. It may be recalled that a Joint Committee on Local Government and Rural Development, Works and Housing, and Environment, Science and Technology of the 7th Parliament undertook an inspection of municipal solid waste treatment facilities and sites in the country from the 21st to 26th September 2019, pursuant to Article 1033 of the Constitution and Orders 180, 181, 185, 1922 of the Standing Orders of this Honorable House. Mr. Speaker, the report of the Joint Committee arising out of the visit was adopted by this House on 3rd December 2019. One of the questions of the Joint Committee was the need for the establishment of at least one solid and a liquid waste treatment plant in each region. The committee, having regard to the cost of such venture and the limited resources of government, urged government to partner the private sector in the development of these waste treatment plants in the regions. To facilitate the process and to encourage investment, the committee recommended the imposition of a levy to support private investment in the sector. Mr. Speaker, to ascertain the status of implementation of the recommendations of the Joint Committee, the committee visited 8 regions to verify whether there has been any interest from the private sector and the state of development of such facilities in the regions. The visit was from 18th to 23rd April 2021, and the selected regions visited in the northern sector, middle belt, and southern sector of the country. Mr. Speaker, the regions that the committee visited include Western Region, Western North, Ashanti, Ahafo, Bono, Northern, Savannah, and Northeast regions in the country. Mr. Speaker, there were a number of facilities that the committee visited, and I don't want all the sites. But the committee also made some observations, which we made some recommendations to the observations that the committee observed. So I will move quickly to the recommendations of the committee. On page 16. Mr. Speaker, the committee recommends that government fast-track the process of decommissioning all the landfill sites in the country. In place of landfills, government should speedily facilitate the establishment of waste treatment and recycling plants in specific districts across the country. In particular, government must take urgent steps to facilitate the establishment of integrated treatment facilities to serve Tema and its environment, in view of the ongoing decommissioning of the pond landfill. Mr. Speaker, 7.3, agreement with private waste management companies. As a matter of urgency, the Joint Committee recommends that government speed up the development of a framework model agreement for engagement with the private sector and companies, after which a formal agreement will be executed between the parties. In addition, the agreements regarding the other facilities in the region should be concluded and signed. It is imperative that in our quest to attract private players into the industry, these agreements are signed to provide comfort to other prospective investors into the sector. 7.5. Mr. Speaker, the committee recommends that government should consider providing investors in waste treatment sector incentives to encourage further investment into the sector. Exemptions on imported equipment, tax holidays, and others are options government may consider providing the investors. Mr. Speaker, conclusion. The committee believes that the introduction of the sanitation levy is a giant step by government in tackling waste treatment and disposal in the country. Mr. Speaker, the object of the Act was 1064 are very laudable, and government must ensure that funds accruing from the levy are used for the intended purpose. One such purpose is to assist private sector. One such purpose is to assist the private sector partner government to manage waste. The committee accordingly calls on government to ring-fence the funds from the levy in order to ensure that resources are reserved solely for waste management. Government should also expedite executing requisite agreements with existing players in the industry in order to give comfort to others and thereby encouraging competition in the sector. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the Joint Committee recommends to the House to adopt and approve its report in accordance with Article 1033 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, respectively submitted. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The ranking.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the motion ably moved by my chairman. Right Honourable Speaker, it's on record that your Joint Committee in the last Parliament similar tour of the country and made very important contributions, one of which has found itself into the State of the Nation address and subsequently the budget, which have been adopted in the ESLA levy on sanitation. The purpose of this is to be able to fast-track the provision of waste recycling plants so that we could move from the outmoded mode of waste management in this country into a modern technological advanced system of waste management. The tour throughout the country, Right Honourable Speaker, really exposed your committee to the fact that if we are able to accelerate the provision of these facilities, it will highly help in the maintenance and the management of waste and sanitation in our respective districts. The projects are at various levels of completion. What the investors will need is the support, the motivation to be able to even move the project faster than this one. The good thing for us is the fact that the assemblies and the regional capitals in which these projects are situated are seriously synchronizing their efforts to make sure that whatever the contractors at the various districts need, the various regional capitals need, in order to fast-track the provision of lands, of support, labor, and the rest, are given. But it still comes back to the fact that it's a huge investment. And we think that if government would support and provide a necessary environment for the investors to be attracted to even seeking loans, facilities from institutions to embark upon this venture, it will help. We are tempted to think that the levy is enough to take care of all our sanitation problems in the country. I am sure it can address just about 30% of what you are seeing. And so what the report is talking about, that government should make sure that the intended purpose of the levy is used to address the problem that we have envisaged as a country and which we want to solve. I believe that the recommendations of your committee, when taken seriously by this House and put at the doorstep of the ministry and the government, we will be able to help in solving the most critical issue of waste management and sanitation in this country. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, I support the motion, and I wish all of us in this House would do the same. Thank you.
Honourable members, the motion has been moved and seconded for the consideration of the House. Yes. Honourable Member for Adaku.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the motion moved by the chairman of the Joint Committee. Mr. Speaker, I also want to commend the committee for taking time to visit this site and coming up with this report. Mr. Speaker, sanitation is a major concern in our country, and whatever we can do to improve it would be in our own interest. But Mr. Speaker, I can see that the committee dwelled a lot on talking about the new levy. Mr. Speaker, it's as if Ghanaians in cities, especially in our major cities, don't pay anything for sanitation. Mr. Speaker, we do pay. Mr. Speaker, if you live in part of Accra and Tema, you'll be paying about 420 cedis a year for your litter to be removed from your house. Elsewhere, Mr. Speaker, when you pay your levies to your local assembly and they remove your waste from your house, that money is what they use all the way to the treatment or separation of those waste material from your house. Mr. Speaker, that is the standard we should be chasing. So if I pay 420 Ghana cedi to government through the local assembly, which is still government, and it's as if we don't pay anything, now the levy is what is going to address the issue, Mr. Speaker. That is not right. That is not right. We do pay 420 cedis, 35 cedis, and many people living in Accra will notice that we do that already. Mr. Speaker, secondly, we do pay property rates to the assemblies. Hardly do we get to know exactly what the assemblies do for anybody in this country. Out of our property rate, what exactly do you benefit from the property rate the assembly charges you, apart from the 420 I'm talking about? What do you do? I don't know anything that the assembly does.
Honourable Member, hold on.
Okay.
Yes, Honourable Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the concerns of my colleague, Honourable. Mr. Speaker, it is true that we do pay for waste collection, but what the levy is going to do is for the management of the waste after it has been collected from our households. The Honourable Member should take on board these two issues.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy for what the chairman has said. What I'm saying is that the best practice, which is what we should be chasing elsewhere, is that when tenants pay their council tax or whatever, that money is what is used to collect your waste from your house all the way to the treatment, whether it's solid waste or whatever. That is what is used. And I'm telling you that I pay 420 cedis to remove the waste from my house. I already pay council tax to the assembly. And you are telling me that now the levy we are paying is what is going to be used for the management. I'm asking, it would have been good if the committee were to tell us that they factored the 420 plus the council tax into this. Because at the end of the day, that money is all coming from the individual property owners. So I'm not saying what you have said is not right. I'm just saying that let's be fair to the Ghanaian. Let's not pretend that they don't pay anything for waste collection or treatment in this country. It is up to the assemblies to determine what they use your property rates for. And I think this house must determine that. Otherwise, it becomes just an IGF for the assemblies. So they collect money on your property. They do nothing in your community, but they just add it to their property rate, buy fuel, give whatever. That is what I wanted to consider, Mr. Speaker. So I am happy that the committee did this, but it is not enough to only insist on the judicious use of the levy, but also what they already collect. In fact, it will be interesting to know that the 420 collected from me by a company I don't want to mention, there are 2 or 3 companies collecting that. How do they use it? You see, Mr. Speaker, they collect the thing from your house and my house in Accra. And now they say that they don't know how to treat it. So government should come and collect more money from me through direct tax so that they go and treat it. Mr. Speaker, it's not fair. I think we should join this together and find out how we can say that in total, an average house pays this amount of money in terms of waste management in this country, and then we can work out what the difference in terms of funding gap is, and then we can move forward. Mr. Speaker, but I think the committee did a good job. This is the way forward. On principle, Mr. Speaker, I am against this giving 10% to, that is now law. So it's neither here nor there now, because I think we could use better ways. But I think the committee did well, and I want colleagues to all pay attention to this. But when you are speaking to this, know that the people in your community who already pay for waste collection, who already pay council tax, are listening to you. So don't let them feel that they don't pay anything already. They already pay this additional tax that they are paying for waste collection. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Let me give the last opportunity to Honorable Member for Ahafua North West, eh?
No.
North, yes. Anyway, let me finish. I'll give one.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. Whilst commending the 3 took this assignment, I would like to associate myself with Honorable Abuja's concerns, which actually brings in the assemblies, and we are calling on them to do more in our fight against waste management and then sanitation challenges in the country. Yes, assemblies are very integral when it comes to fighting sanitation and then its related challenges. So whatever they get from the central government, we want to urge them to also go further and then justify the various money that they receive so that these issues will not be discussed further. Mr. Speaker, I think successive governments have been trying very hard, frantically, to have a handle on waste management and then environmental issues. I think what we are seeing now is a clear case of us getting a clear understanding and then a sound handle on these issues. Why am I saying this? Currently, we've all seen the various efforts that have been made culminating in the establishment of the sanitation levy. which is now being implemented. We are also seeing government partnering with private operators within the sanitation and the environmental space to address challenges relating to environment and sanitation. With this, I think we are getting closer to getting a solution for our challenges. However, I want to bring on board some few observations that are made whilst I was on the assignment with the committee. It became very clear that wherever these recycling plants are established or are sited, wherever they are sited, you find settlements gravitating towards this size. What it means is that even though the land has been earmarked for such facilities, once settlements are springing up around it, the operators and the local assemblies have to find a way of making sure that the air quality that actually the people within the surroundings will be inhaling is somehow standard, meets the standards that is required. So I will urge the operators and assemblies to look at a possibility of having a green belt by planting, as we just celebrated Greening Ghana initiative a few days ago. So I will urge the assemblies to have some green belt around these facilities. So that I'm sure the scientists will tell you that once you have green belt around these facilities, it will actually somehow affect the odor that will be emanating from some of these facilities. As we all know, waste management sites normally comes along with odor. So they need to do that to also manage that. And I would think that EPA should also be monitoring the quality of air that is emanating from these facilities so that the standards are met. Again, I will also want to urge the operators of these facilities to also try to have some collaboration with the local traditional authorities so that we have a situation where they will help them in preserving their facilities, in preserving the area, so that they'll be able to do their business in good environment. And that is where we call on them to also extend some responsibility programs and initiatives to the communities around. By and large, I think the committee has done a good job. The three committees have done a good job, and I want to urge the House to adopt the report and then move with it so that we'll be able to handle our sanitation challenges in the country. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member for Afajatu.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity. Right Honourable Speaker, paragraph 3.1, with the subheading Project Scope, tells us that due to the delay in executing this program, or may I, with your permission, may I read? The committee observed that the addendum agreement is neither going to change the scope of the project nor the design, and goes ahead to tell us that due to the delay, 3 out of the 7 hospitals will be constructed. Right Honourable Speaker, may I know, it's not even know, I am so worried about this attitude of government or government coming into office and then abandon. Right Honourable Speaker, I withdraw. Thank you.
Yes, lastly, I'll give the opportunity to member for Tano North. Honourable members, bear with me. We have so many things to do today. So after this, we move to other.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the motion on the floor, and also to commend members of the committee for taking time to visit.
4 members, please order.
And also, I want to commend members of the committee for taking time to visit the project site, to the landfill site, and also to ascertain the status of work done so far. Mr. Speaker, you agree with me that managing waste, managing sanitation is a very huge task. And until such time that we find innovative ways of curbing sanitation in our environment, we will not be doing ourselves any good. Waste management is a Herculean task, and if we are able to manage sanitation well, we'll be able to curb some of this perennial flooding in our various communities. You agree with me that most of the time, a lot of people litter around. We don't even segregate waste. And for these agricultural projects and waste management plants, they are going to add value to our waste. They are going to manage the waste for us. And I'm even surprised when we took a trip to some of the communities that we're also going to manage medical waste, which of course some of us had not really at that time taken a look at how we can, manage medical waste very well. So I want to add my voice to commend the committee and also to commend government for creating this enabling environment for the private sector to thrive. I believe that these projects are going to generate a lot of indirect and direct jobs across our regions and across our communities. As much as my colleague Honorable Slade talked about the fact that there are growing communities around the areas where these plants are being constructed. The committee was happy with the level of work done so far because I believe they started these projects not too long ago, about less than a year ago. And they were also happy about the level of work done so far. We commended the consultants and the contractors we met on site. They also assured the committee and gave us some dates that hopefully around August and by the close of this year, some of the projects would have been completed. We are hoping that they'll be able to do that. I am particularly happy because of the jobs that these projects are going to create, especially in the newly created regions of which Ahafo region is one of them. And I hope that with the sanitation levy, I can appreciate what my colleague on the other side was talking about, but the sanitation levy is going to also support the way we already manage the system in this country. You will agree with me that the assemblies are doing their best at the lowest level that they can. But we are talking about waste that is generated in tons, about 200 tons, 300 tons, 500 tons. That cannot be managed by a district or municipal assemblies. It needs a collective effort to do that. And with the introduction and the provision of the sanitation and pollution levy, I believe it will go a long way to help in curbing sanitation and some of these problems. It will also help us to, do away with the traditional or conventional way of seeing refuse put together. You see some people burning it left and right. It all affects our environment. So I believe this project is a laudable one. And for that matter, the private sector are also doing well in this direction. And we'll need to support the president and also support the private sector to ensure that all these projects come to its fruition. Speaker, with these few words, I would like to urge the House to support the motion and also support already the sanitation and the pollution levy that has already been passed under the ESLA so that we can all together fight this canker in our country. We want to prevent diseases, we want to prevent dysentery, we want to prevent typhoid, we want to prevent, even with COVID, we need to put certain structures, systems and structures in place to ensure that management of waste is done and done well. And adding value to our waste is to bring out some compost to help. On Friday, we all did the Green Ghana project. With compost, we'll be able to ensure that the Green Ghana projects along. So, Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I support the motion. I hope colleagues will also support it. Thank you.
Thank you, honorable members. Honorable members, at the conclusion of the debate, please permit me to put the question. As many as are in favor of the motion say aye. Those against the motion say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The motion has been adopted. Honorable members, we move to motion number 9. I guess members have been given copies of the report. So the chairman of the committee, this is procedural.
Yes, right, Honorable Speaker. Thank you. I beg to move that item listed as 9 in the pages 5 of today, other paper be moved now. I so move.
Yes. Any seconder? Yes, honorable member for NABDA. This procedural.
I rise to second the motion.
Honorable members, the motion has been moved and has been seconded. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against the motion say no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. Honorable members, now item number 10. The chairman.
Right, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move that item listed as 10 on page 5 of today, other paper, we move to now. In so doing, I present the report of the committee. I wish to draw the attention of the Civil Office to the Hazards Department to capture in full detail the contents of this report. The government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Finance, signed a loan agreement with Barclays PLC of the United Kingdom, amounting to $175 million to be utilized for the construction of 6 new district
Honorable member, may you speak to the mic, please?
At selected locations and provide the Takoradi European Hospital and housing units. It may be recalled that the facility agreements were approved by Parliament in 2012, and in the same year, the Ministry of Health signed a commercial agreement with Mercedes NMS Infrastructure Limited of UK to design, construct, and equip the 6 new district hospitals and 1 other, and provide them with integrated information technology systems. It may be recalled that the Ministry of Health, in consultations with its agencies, proposed and decided on the following: 1. Abetifi in the Kwewu East District, Fomina in the Adansi South District, Dodowa in the Shai Osu Doku District, Garu in the Garu Timpane District, Kumewu in the Sechwe District, Sekendi in the Western Region, and European Hospital in the Sekendi Takoradi Metropolitan Assembly, with accommodation units. Mr. Speaker, the project also included the provision of pharmaceutical management systems, as well as medical equipment for all the hospitals. The entire project, which had a duration of 36 months, commenced in April 2013. About 136,158,648 United States dollars had been dispersed, leaving an amount of $841,352 US dollars of the facility. The project was suspended in 2016. The rest had reached various stages of completion, and progress of work across all sites stood at 50.51% at the time. The suspension of the project was due to delays in the processing of tax exemptions contained in the contract and issues relating to land availability. Even though the project could have been continued with in 2017, government's technical inquiry, which demanded value for money audit, among others, also stalled it. Mr. Speaker, a joint memorandum for the amendment of the loan agreement and the supply contract agreement was signed by the Minister of Finance and Minister of Health respectively in order to get the project completed. There was a cabinet approval and it was submitted to Parliament, but the supply contract agreement was inadvertently omitted, even though it was among the relevant documents submitted to the House. Approval for the addendum agreement is therefore being sought to take care of the omission in order to satisfy the necessary conditions and also give legal backings to the facilitators of the project to enable them fulfill their obligations under the contract. The committee also made some observations and recommendations as such. Mr. Speaker, with regards to the project scope, the committee observed that the addendum agreement is neither going to change the scope of the project nor the design. It, however, noted that the remaining amount of $38,841,352 USD would not be sufficient to complete the project, and that, by estimation, only 3 out of the 7 on the list of works can be done. They are Kumewu, Fomina, and the Takoradi European flats, which are at advanced stages. Mr. Speaker, parliamentary questions, the committee also observed that parliamentary questions on the projects from honorable members came in. It would be recalled that a number of parliamentary questions in relation to the projects have been put to the honorable minister. The latest was from the honorable member for Kumewu, Honorable Basua. The addendum therefore comes as a fulfillment of some of the assurances given to the House by the honorable minister in response to the questions put to him on the floor of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, it is also worth mentioning that those living in the communities located in the enclave where the project was being undertaken have expressed sentiments about how necessary it is to get it completed in order to improve their access. In conclusion, the committee recommends to the House to adopt the report and approve by resolution. Addendum agreement dated 30th July 2020 between the government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Health, and NMS Infrastructure Limited, for a reinstated contract price of $38,841,352 United States dollars, required to complete the full scope of works for Fomina, Takoradi, and Kumewu sites. Suppliers contract agreement between the government of the Republic of Ghana and NMS Infrastructure Limited for the design, construction, and equipping of 7 district hospitals and the provision of an integrated IT systems by NMS Infrastructure Limited. Respectfully submitted, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, honorable member for NABDA. But before then, let the committee chairman, before then, please make this correction. Fomina is not in Adansi South District. Fomina is in Adansi North District. Please make that correction, please. Member for NABDA.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yeah. I rise to speak in support of the motion before us. In doing so, let us go to page 3. The last phrase, or the last sentence. Even though the project could have been continued with in 2017, government technical inquiry, which demanded value for money, audit among others, also stalled it. Mr. Speaker, that is the destructive part of our politics. What it means is that we had about $38 billion sitting in our accounts since 2016, and whenever we spoke about it, I remember myself and my ranking went out to visit all these projects. And whenever we spoke about it, it was said that they were doing what? Forensic auditing. So forensic auditing the first year, second year, third year, etc. And so now the project is 5 years late. Mr. Speaker, the value of money is not static. It changes. In actual fact, money depreciates as the years go by. So this $38 million, what it could have done at that time, it cannot do the same thing. This is why it is obvious that we have to cut down the number of projects that it could do and come to trade, and that is Formina, Kumewu, and then the flats. But of course, Mr. Speaker, it was laid before Parliament some years back, and the financial aspect was approved for getting the supply end, which was part of the documents. So if it had been brought today for us to do our own correction, it was a mistake by the House. We need to correct it and submit it for the work to start. And we know that we want to Formina, we want to Kumewu, and we know that the citizens are very interested in these projects. So I highly support the money, the 38 million that is left, should be used to complete these 3 projects. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Members, the motion has been moved, and that motion has also been seconded. It is for the consideration of the House. Yes, Honorable Member for Menshianov.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the motion for the adoption of the report on the Committee of Health on the addendum dated 30th July 2020, for us to adopt this for the completion of what we term as the 6+1 hospitals. Mr. Speaker, much as we agree and understand with my deputy ranking member on the issues raised, Mr. Speaker, however, we must also understand that if you look at the amount that was dedicated to this project, about 175 million, out of which about 136 million US dollars were used, representing over 70% of the funds that were allocated to, and a project completion rate of about 50.51%. Mr. Speaker, any government that had inherited this would have a cause to worry and call for inquiry into this. Because if you look at the rate of 70% as against 50% of completion, it is worth noting that any government would have gone there. And we must not also take it for granted, Mr. Speaker. This is the taxpayers' money. So if you are spending,
it must correspond with the rate of completion that Mr. Speaker needed to have been done. And however, that was not the only reason why, Mr. Speaker, the project stalled, because there were other two reasons: lack of land for the project, as well as the processing of tax exemptions as contained in the agreement. Be that as it may, Mr. Speaker, currently we are here to adopt a report that we, as a House, inadvertently did not include in what was supposed to have been done in our last report on the same project. So we must, as a House, Mr. Speaker, adapt this so that in these areas, in these places where the people need these hospitals, and we all need it in those areas because we don't know where we find ourselves in any of these districts or in any of these areas that these hospitals are located, so that we would then be able to complete these projects that we have ascertained that their rates of completion are high, so that we'll be able to use this 38 million left. And however, we must also understand that as at the time, the letters of credit for these companies executing the project had expired, so it needed to be renewed. So a collective assessment of the whole process was better for us to have done. So, Mr. Speaker, I call on this House to adapt this addendum so that the project can commence and complete for the benefit of the people in this country. Mr. Speaker, I so move, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Member for Bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to add my voice to the report submitted by the Health Committee of this House for us to approve the addendum to finance the completion of these very critical projects. Mr. Speaker, health provision anywhere in the country, irrespective of where you come from, because you do not know when and where you will find yourself and you will need such a facility. No amount of inquiry, Mr. Speaker, should suffice for delay in implementation of a health project. The number of persons who would have lost their lives in the Fomena catchment, in the Kumewu and East catchment areas, and all other areas that would have benefited from this facility can never be brought back to life after all the so-called forensic auditing or what have you that would have been done. That is why no amount of auditing should stop a health project. And some of the reasons that are placed in here as justification for delay, including lack of land. Does lack of land affect the project in Fomena, which is already ongoing and was more than 50% complete? Can we say same for Kumewu, which is ongoing and was more than 50% complete? How can you say lack of land? Today, we are being called upon to approve a little over 38 million for completion of 3 projects. These 3 projects have been going on. But we are being told in this report that lack of land. Lack of land for what? Lack of land for which project? Why would we delay such an important project for more than what? 3 years? With a wake-up call for this House to put in systems so that when we approve a facility, we would not just be asking ministers concerned questions for them to continue to assure us and provide us with information that they don't follow up to actualize the projects. Because the very people whose sweat will be used in paying for these loans, they need to benefit from it. If those in charge of supervising these projects are privileged to possibly be sent elsewhere for treatment, the poor cocoa farmer in Fomena, that of the poor cocoa farmer in Kumewu, will not get that opportunity to be sent out for treatment. It is these facilities we provide that they will go to, and that is why agency must be attached to the implementation of such projects, so that when facilities are taken and they are reviewed and analyzed to be used in implementing a number of projects, we do it within time so as to achieve the purpose for which we go for such facility. We cannot go for a facility to do a 6-district hospital and we end up only doing 3 because of delay in implementation of the project. Now who caused them? For 4 years, we decide not to do anything about this very important project. And then in the 5th year, we are rushing, bringing in, asking that we should approve monies that have been sitting there, and then you are doing nothing about it. So, Mr. Speaker, what I want is this House, in approving facilities in future, should make sure that if a particular ministry or minister responsible for the supervision does something not to implement the project and we can find some negligence in it, we need to truly hold the person to answer for such things and not delay and keep monies for people to lose their lives. A lot of persons have lost their lives, and we should not behave that because the project is not in my area. I'm not interested in pushing it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Yes. Minister, I'll give you opportunity, so you hold on. Let me invite Honorable Member for Kumewu. I believe today you are a bit relieved. You are relieved. I'm also relieved, at least. We can say something. So, Honorable Member, you take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is indeed true that today I'm highly relieved. This project has been there for so long a time. And as we all are aware, because of the fact that there was delay in the execution of the project, by all means the cost of the project will automatically go up, meaning the initial funds allocated for the project wouldn't be able to be used to execute the project, and therefore there was a need to have additional money to help in the completion of the project. In fact, this project is of high concern to Kumawu, the chief of people of Kumawu, even to the Otumfuo, who is so much concerned about the development of Ashanti region. I remember in a recent time, we paid a visit to him and he made me know he's talked about it, he's discussed it with the president. So I'm very grateful to Otumfuo and also to the president, who has the very good listening ears, and upon our incessant complaints at the right time, through the minister, we've been able to secure this money for the project. I know and I believe that it's going to be the final loan for this project, Kumawu project. I'm very grateful. That as was captured in the report of the committee, that the people within the area expressed their resentment about the delay in the project. It is indeed, that should be the case, because the project is very dear to the heart of the Kumawu people. Aside everything, this project has job creation inherent in it. It's going to create jobs. Traders are going to get money from it. Taxi drivers are going to benefit from it. So it is a project which is very, very important to the people of Kumawu. I remember some time past a video which was going viral about the resentment of the paramount chief of Kumawu. All portends to the fact that this project is very important and to the people of Kumawu and everybody who will benefit from the project. So I'm grateful to the President of the Republic of Ghana and to the Minister and the committee for the good work done. Mr. Speaker, I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Let me give the opportunity to member for Kita.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Honorable Speaker, when you look at the report, my honorable colleague from other sides mentioned that it is a very important project. Yes, indeed, health facility construction is a very important project for this country, because right now, looking at our facilities, they are overburdened. Some are sleeping on the floor, the consulting rooms are full, some don't even have access to health facility. And then, Mr. Speaker, this is a project embarked on by the NDC government, and it was a laudable program. For 4 good years, this project was sitting down, and then forensic audit is being conducted. Here we are. The excuse is due to tax exemption, due to land, due to those things. That is where the project, and then now the project, looking at the document, they have finished value for money. Mr. Speaker, may I refer you to page 3 of this document? That mentioned that the last paragraph, even though the project could have been continued in 2017, government's technical inquiry, which demanded value for money, audit, other things have been stopped. Value for money that they are talking about. We are putting the life of the people in this country because of value for money. And this value for money, they have said, have not stipulated in this document. Mr. Speaker, I just want to conclude that this project were deliberately delayed, which to the detriment of this country. And then we need henceforth that government is about continuity. It's not about which party is in power or the other party is in power. It is about what? Continuity. And projects other governments started need to be continued. And then I think on this note, as a House, we should stop that. If a government come in and start a project, and then we stop the project and start another one. Meanwhile, when we finish, it is the citizen, Ghanaians, who benefit from this project. On that note, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Honorable members, Mr. Minister, do you want to, you have, okay, leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion and ask the House to approve the report of the committee. But, Mr. Speaker, before we do that, I'll be happy if the chairman of the committee is the chairman of the committee in the chamber. The chairman is here, yes. So I want you to listen. The report on page 3 of the report. Page 3 of the report. From the second line, the first paragraph. You say that the rest had reached various stages of completion. The rest, now let me read the first one. The project was suspended in December 2016. The rest had reached various stages of completion. I don't understand that clearly. It means that some of the project were completed and the rest has reached various stages of completion. If that is the case, go to the last paragraph under project scope on the same page 3. You said the $38.8 million will not be sufficient to complete the project, and that by estimation, only 3 out of the 7 on the list of works to be done can be completed. How can you marry the two? If the first portion, some of the projects were completed, and the rest have reached various stages of completion, and the last paragraph here, you are saying that this amount can complete only 3 out of the 7. Can you explain that so that we know clearly what you are referring to?
Yeah, Mr. Speaker. the leader has drawn me in here for myself. I think what this report seeks to do is to say that, okay, with regards to the remaining money, of the 6 and 1, some of them are at various stages of completion. 50-something, 60-something, 70-something, and some of them probably have not even taken off at all. So, the ending is to let you know that the remaining amount suffice to apply for 3 projects which are in advanced stages. And that is why Kumewu, European Hospital, and Formina, which are about, in the estimation, some are 75, some are 85, some are 90%. Those sort of ones are better than those which have not been started at all, and others which are between 10% to 15%. So that is what the report purports, or the mischief it's intended as far as this report was concerned. Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. If that is the case, then the sentence that says the rest should be looked at again, if it can be made clearer, so that we know that some of the projects completed. Because I can talk of Dodowa. Dodowa has been completed. So even if you said only 3 out of the 7 that can be completed, probably it will be misleading. Or if Dodowa is also not completed, the minister can one up when you are, can tell us if you are winding up with that. And we also know that Garu, no work has started in Garu. Yes, nothing has started in Garu. And then the report should have also given us an indication of how, if this amount is used to complete 3, those that are left, how will they be funded? At least the report should tell us something. Because the minister who brought the agreement probably was at the meeting to tell us that, oh, when the 3 is completed with this money, this is what the ministry is doing to get resources to complete the rest of the. But that's what the minister will have to take care of when he's running up. Thank you very much.
Speaker, as I'm happy the leader has directed it.
Honorable Chairman, have I invited you?
Mr. Speaker, okay, respectively, I have taken your position.
Okay.
In any case,
you can now speak.
And in the standing orders, if you draw somebody into a debate, I have to recuse myself. So I was trying to clear myself. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, Chairman, have you finished? Chairman, have you finished with your response?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I'm done.
Very well. Honorable Minister, if you have something to tell us.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was not anticipating elaborate debate with this particular motion, since I was thinking that it was an omission on the part of documentation challenges which brought us this far to actually correct what we should have done earlier when we were doing the financial work. But it looks like several issues have been raised that are concerns, and I think I must address them to bring some clarity to the whole matter of these things. My colleague from Garu is very, how do I call it, ready listening to what will happen to Garu in the circumstance of let us do 3 with what is left. Not only there are others like Abitifi and the rest that we are not addressing here. Mr. Speaker, the major concern that is coming from our colleagues is a concern that we should all share. The projects are not stalled because of politics. Never. 4 years, yes. But these projects were stopped in the middle of 2016 when the former Minister for Finance, our own colleague, Honorable Sekepe, realized that has been disbursed on the projects far exceeds what's done. So there should be some investigation to find out why. So when their LC that they were using to draw monies to do the project lapsed in June 2016, he refused to renew the LC for them to assess the remaining $38 billion left. And in the spirit of continuity, when SET was planning to do value for money audits, the new minister comes and there are files there. He will continue. That is what actually happened. Unfortunately, we had one big agent in Ghana that does value for money, Crown Agents. This was awarded to Crown Agents. Earlier, the minister was thinking that the contractor, having spent so much of the money, should pay for the value for money audit as well. He refused, and there was sort of a tug. It continued until we went in, and we agreed that yes, we will do and pay. But then he will add on to the cost of the projects if we actually come on to some level of agreement. We went through, and pressure on us from our colleagues on this side of the House and the communities, including the Deputy Speaker himself, who is now going to be relieved, my colleague from Kumawu, including even me. Fancy a minister who goes the president to the people of Kumawu in the middle of a deba. The chiefs are sitting. They announced that we are going to recommence the project in the next few weeks. Yet up to today, we haven't started. They relieved me. I will be more relieved than any other person. But the problems that have happened are still hanging. What is to enable the contractor assess the remaining 38 million, come and do the projects. And whilst doing it, on the Attorney General's advice, right, we will then pick the value for money audit and begin to investigate it properly. The indication that is good news is the fact that the UKEF has indicated that if we settle this matter, Parliament approves and we finish the frame, and we settle the value for money queries, they will be able to give us some extra funding to continue to finish the entire projects. So there is good hope for the ones that have not been completed. It will not go waste. So the exercise we are doing here is supposed to allow the LC to be renewed, for the contractor to have access to 38 million, to do work that 38 million can do. And these are the three that we have actually identified. So that once we are doing that work, then we settle and talk about what we will do next. That is why we are here. Mr. Speaker, all I will do is to thank my colleagues for the concern that they've expressed. And I believe that they will all join us to actually adopt this resolution, such that the contractor can have money to come and do the work. But the accounting aspect of it and what actually happened and things like that will later on come on board. And maybe all of us in the chamber might have an opportunity to interrogate why that thing happened. So what we did wasn't something that started only in 2017, but it started earlier. And the value for money demand was like continuity of what our other colleagues wished. This is not the only area we have that problem with. Ambulances that were supposed to be procured by the previous regime, right? They were rejected by the government's own minister because they were not good for purpose. And the 30 ambulances are still sitting at the 37, how do I call it, the Burma camp. You see, so when a minister had rejected something, you cannot just go and also bring it, especially upon looking at technical things. Somebody might say that because of politics, you refuse to bring in those ambulances. No, there are facts towards that. So some of these things, when they come, we shouldn't let our political emotions rise, but we look at it as to how best we can correct certain things to get our things going. We can't lose 38 million and lose the hospitals as well. So let me thank you very much for the contribution and concerns showed. Notes have been taken, and the type of concerns we expressed will guide all of us into the future. Mr. Speaker, I thank you so much, and I urge my colleagues to adopt the motion to continue to give you relief and probably when you are seated next time, as well as my colleague from Kumawu. I will also enjoy. I can go to Kumawu now because cousin, and my mother is from Kumawu. I think it's from Fomina. My mother's father is from Fomina, but I live over there. So it is not only you who will be relieved, including myself as well. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, at the conclusion of the debate, kindly permit me to put the question. And the question is, as many as are in support of the motion, say aye. Aye. Those against the motion say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The motion has been adopted. Honorable members, item Number 11. Honorable Minister, may you move the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move the motion, the resolution listed on page 6 and 7 of the order paper for adoption. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Any seconder, the chairman? Chairman, speak.
I second the motion.
Honorable members, the motion has been moved, the resolution has been moved and seconded. The question is, as many as are in favor of the resolution, say aye. Those against, say no. Honorable members, I think the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Yes, Honorable Deputy Whip, any indication?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I think number 12 is just notice of committee sittings. So we are in your hands for adjournment until tomorrow. But I think the decision lies in your hands, Mr. Speaker, for direction of whether we are sitting 10 a.m. in the forenoon or we are sitting 2 p.m. in the afternoon.
Honorable Leader, you know we've not touched item number 6. The Speaker admitted as many as 6 statements. So are you still insisting that we adjourn whilst not touching on statements?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since the Right Honourable Speaker have admitted this statement, I think we can reduce it to about 2 or so, 6 statements. Looking at the time, so I think.
Well,
2 statements.
I don't know, but I'm inclined to take 1 or 2 statements.
Yes, 1 or 2 statements, Mr. Speaker.
And I'm taking the one Blood Donors Day, and I have 2 which touch on that same subject. So,
Mr. Speaker, since the Right Honourable Speaker admitted 6 statements, members whose statements have been admitted have to prepare themselves. So if we can start not giving limit as many as we can, once we are tired, we end there.
Very well. So, the first statement stands in the name of Honorable Abdul Salam Adams, a member for New Edibiase constituency, and it is a commemorative statement on the World Blood Donor Day. Honorable member, the floor is yours. You can start your statement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to make a commemorative statement on World Blood Donor Day. Mr. Speaker, on 14th June every year, we celebrate World Blood Donor Day to raise global awareness on the need for safe blood and blood products for transfusion. On this day, special attention is given to the critical contributions voluntary blood donors make to national health systems in the world. Mr. Speaker, the day also provides provides an opportunity to remind governments and national health authorities about the need to enhance health infrastructure to increase the collection of safe blood from voluntary donors. Mr. Speaker, blood products and their transfusion are critical aspects of healthcare as they save millions of lives every day. Mr. Speaker, the need for blood is, but there is limited access to it for those who need it. This is more pronounced in low and middle income countries. Mr. Speaker, last year, the National Blood Service achieved only 24% of its target of 75% voluntary blood donation. Mr. Speaker, in 2017, a total of 162,226 units of blood was collected by the National Blood Service. In 2018, they collected 169,000 out of the 280,000 units required. In 2020, the number of blood donations dropped significantly. Mr. Speaker, this drop was mainly due to the restrictions on social distancing occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic, which affected mass blood donations too. Mr. Speaker, regular blood donations by voluntary donors from low-risk populations are a prerequisite for achieving self-sufficiency in safe blood and blood products for every country. However, in Ghana, the national blood supply systems continue to rely heavily on replacement donations by family relations and friends of patients who require blood transfusion. Mr. Speaker, this development is impacting negatively on blood stock at the blood bank. As a result, the blood bank is unable to meet the high demand and thus putting the lives of patients who may require blood transfusion at risk. Mr. Speaker, in line with the objectives of this year's Blood Donor Day celebration, we must continue as a country to appreciate blood donors in the country and create broader public awareness about the need for regular unpaid blood donation. We must almost promote the community values of blood donation in enhancing community solidarity and social cohesion. Members of the House must use their mobilization skills to organize constituents to go all out and donate blood. I also encourage the youth to embrace the humanitarian call to donate blood and inspire others to do the same. Mr. Speaker, in many countries, young people have been at the forefront of activities and initiatives aimed at achieving safe blood supplies through voluntary blood donations. In view of this, Mr. Speaker, I will be donating blood to the National Blood Bank and call on all young parliamentarians to do the same. I also encourage all young men and women in the country, as this year's celebration slogan says, give blood and keep the world beating. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Let me again invite Honorable Member for Nabdam, Honorable Dr. Mark Kett Naweni, to also read his commemorative statement in the same subject, Blood Donors Day. So, Honorable Member, you may read your statement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for permitting me to make this important statement to celebrate the World Blood Donors Day, which happens to be yesterday, June 14th. June 14th is the birthday of Karl Landsteiner, an Austrian biologist and physician, covered the ABO blood group in 1901 and considered the father of modern blood transfusion. Mr. Speaker, the event serves to thank voluntary, unpaid blood donors for their life-saving gifts of blood, and also to raise awareness of the need for regular blood donation to ensure that all individuals and communities have access to affordable and timely supplies of safe and quality assured blood and blood products as an integral part of the universal health coverage and a key component of effective health system. Mr. Speaker, World Blood Donor Day 2021 is hosted by Rome in Italy, and it is on the theme, Give Blood and Keep the World Beating. The objectives of the 2021 campaign is to thank donors and to create a broader public awareness about the need for regular unpaid blood donation. The campaign also focuses on the role of the youth in ensuring a safe blood supply. Mr. Speaker, there is no substitute for blood. People between the ages of 75 are qualified to donate. There are medical advantages in being a regular blood donor. Donating blood is good for your health. It decreases the amount of iron in the body and reduces the risk of heart disease and hemochromatosis. According to a study published in the American Journal of Epidemiology, blood donors have an 88% lower risk of a heart attack. Donating blood reduces the risk of cancer associated with the liver, lungs, stomach, and colon. Generally, the donated blood is checked for HIV, hepatitis, syphilis, malaria, and the donor benefits from a general medical checkup. There is also a psychological satisfaction to donors that they are contributing to save lives. Mr. Speaker, in Ghana, the National Blood Service has been established by the National Blood Service Act 2020 at 1042, which was ascended to by the President on the 29th of December 2020. The National Blood Service was to provide safe, adequate blood products to patients who require blood transfusion in public and private health institutions in the country. Currently, the National Blood Service operates 3 blood centers in Accra, Kumasi, and Tamale at the teaching hospitals. Its headquarters is at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. It must be noted that the National has commenced the upgrade of the Upper East Regional Hospital Blood Bank and St. John of God Hospital at Sevi, Asafo, in the Western North region to serve as blood centers. Mr. Speaker, generally, I must say that blood transfusion services still remain highly fragmented with very little coordination. Quality structures and culture are underdeveloped, while community and clinical interface is disjointed. In situations where the National Blood Service cannot provide the services, it collaborates with other relevant institutions to do so. There are over 300 health facilities which operate fixed sites for the collection, screening, processing, and usage of blood and blood products across the country. Mr. Speaker, the National Blood Service had a modest budget of 5 million 266,917 Ghana cedis, 76 pesos. However, because of COVID-19, it could not achieve its operational targets. A total of 505 mobile blood collection sessions were organized against a target of 1,650 and a previous year performance of 1,100 sessions. Also, the blood collection index per 1,000 population declined from 5.6 in 2019 to 5.2 in 2020, and against a target of 8. Mr. Speaker, one area of concern in the country is the level of voluntary unpaid blood donations nationwide that dropped drastically from 38% in 2019 to 17% in 2020. The low level of voluntary blood donation by the general public has resulted in over-reliance on family replacement donations and the prevalence of the activities of commercial donors. Commercial blood donors request for monetary payments for blood donations, and these are not encouraged in an efficient and effective blood transfusion system. Mr. Speaker, it is also worth noting that Ghana Limited was contracted by the government of Ghana to assist deliver blood and medical products using autonomous, remotely piloted aircraft system. It is at a monthly gross service fee of about 1,036,989 Ghana cedis, 60 pesos a month, or 12,443,875 Ghana cedis, 20 pesos annually. Is it a situation where the cart has been put before the horse? I'm asking this question because the huge annual payment to Fries Different Ghana Limited could have been used to assist the National Blood Service to establish more centers and make blood readily available instead of setting up an infrastructure to carry non-existent blood. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, recently, a lot of hospitals in the metropolitan area reported shortages of blood, and that is the real situation in the rest of the country. There is therefore the need to, 1, step up advocacy for voluntary unpaid blood donation, strengthen engagement with religious, educational institutions, corporate bodies, Ghana Red Cross Society, NCCE, and other stakeholders. Set up fixed blood collection sites at strategic locations in communities. 3, strengthen resource mobilization to expand blood service infrastructure and increase in funding from the government of Ghana and development partners. 4, recruit additional staff, especially blood donor recruiters, and build capacity across the service. 5, review donor education, recruitment, and retention strategies. Mr. Speaker, as a nation, we need to accelerate the process of establishing regional and district blood centers. If this is done and the above measures carried out, then we can have a robust national blood service capable of meeting the increasing demand for blood and blood products in our healthcare system. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm done.
Yes, Honorable Member, Doctor. Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to the statement on World Blood Donor Day presented by the Honorable members for New Edubiase and then Napdam constituency. Mr. Speaker, blood is life, because what keeps us as human beings is because we have blood in us. If we lose blood in our body, or we don't have blood, we are at the risk of death. So blood is very critical to the very survival of us as human beings. And therefore, this day was established to create awareness about the importance of blood and ensuring that we have safe blood and blood-related products for transfusion. Mr. Speaker, one thing that should be is that blood is not for sale. When I was practicing as a medical doctor, this was a concern, and I think we still have complaints about people visiting hospital and saying that they say they should pay for blood. Blood cannot be bought and should not be sold to anybody. And safe blood is one of the very critical areas that is needed for universal health coverage. Because nobody, anywhere, should be denied blood when you need it critically. And all of you could be involved in an accident, you could be sick, needing blood, or your relative could be in very critical condition, needing blood. And that is the very reason why all of us should support and create that awareness for us to have safe blood. The makers of the statement have made it critical that we are relying on blood replacement. What it means is that your relative goes to the hospital, they say there's no blood, or even if they manage to get a pint of blood, they say go and bring relatives to replace. And therefore, looking around for relatives, and some relatives running away to go and donate blood, we lose so many lives just in search for safe blood. That is why all of us, as members of parliament, should be involved in creating that awareness, educating the public that there's a need for all of us to donate. Fear of your blood not being good is what prevents so many people from going to donate, because they fear that when you go, they will check your blood for HIV, they will check your blood for hepatitis, they will check your blood for other, but most importantly, HIV. The fear of being told that you have HIV is what prevents so many people from availing themselves for blood donation. But that shouldn't be. So all of us should be encouraged to avail ourselves, donate blood voluntarily, because it's safer when the blood is donated voluntarily than when it is donated under emergency conditions. Because once it is voluntarily unpaid, they have all the time to do all the various tests and to ensure that the blood that they are getting is safe. But when you are donating it under emergency conditions, it is not as safe as when it is done voluntarily and the person is not calling for any payment. But I must stress that those who do it voluntarily without demanding any payment should be motivated in a way. Either, Milo, I know they do it, something, because you have to be healthy. You yourself will have to have blood before you can donate it for somebody. So let's take good care of them and ensure that our hospitals have safe blood. Nobody should be scared. It is better to go for blood donation and even know your status than to be afraid. So that together we can have safe blood that will save our lives. And government must invest, because per the National Blood Service Act, we have to have regional and district offices. And it's not just by talk or just passing the act and letting it lie there. We have to invest as a country to ensure that our regional hospitals, our district hospitals have safe blood that will save our lives. Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Yes, the honorable member at the corner there. What's the name?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
What is the name and the constituency?
The name is James Quason, Member of Parliament, Asin North.
Asin North, okay.
Correct.
Good.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. I noticed you were very anxious. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me the opportunity to contribute to Honorable Mark Kurt Nawan and Honorable Adam Abdul Salam's statement on World Blood Donor Day. Mr. Speaker, I believe developing countries about voluntary blood donation is typically lack of awareness. I'm saying so because I did a special case study on my own driver. One day I asked him, have you donated blood before? He says, no. I said, why? He said, because I haven't had any relative who needed blood. So then I said, what about someone else who had an accident and that is needed help? He said, well, he can contact his relatives. So you see, that is the norm. That is the notion, the people's thinking, that you only donate blood when a relative or someone is in an emergency in the hospital. But that's, Mr. Speaker, we all know that blood transfusion gives and saves lives. But my patients, most need transfusion, do not have timely access to the blood. This is when you are in a critical situation, it's so difficult to find a matching blood to save the situation. There should be an increase in awareness, and I think it should start right from the elementary and secondary schools. Because if you start it at the very early stages, even though public awareness, it doesn't necessarily mean that youth have to contribute or donate the blood, but at least the awareness is developed from that early stages. As my honorable member suggested, the earlier contributor, that we can also create an incentive. So you create a blood awareness day. You include topics and other subjects in the school curriculum to let the students know that importance is attached to blood and it saves people's lives. We need new educational materials to also promote this, to include booklets, CDs, games, and different presentations aimed at different age groups at all educational levels. Mr. Speaker, I know we have time constraint here, but creating that awareness, I think,
Mostly changes in society starts with the youth. And if we can pump this awareness into their mental state of thinking of how blood is important for the rest of the society, then they know that with time, they don't have to wait, or a family member don't have to wait for an emergency situation before they can get assistance or support. Again, I will thank you that I will join my honorable friend who's a neighbor in my constituent, Honorable Adams Abdul Salam. He suggested that, or at least he reiterated that he's going to donate blood, and I'm willing to join him, and I'm inviting other members on the floor to join us. We're going to schedule a day to go and donate blood to set an example to our various constituents. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Member. Let me give the opportunity to the lady at the corner, Honorable Member for Crow. Yes. Honorable, you may take the floor, please.
Your mic. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to the statement made by my honorable colleague, Honorable Abdul Salam Adam, Member of Parliament for New Edubiasi constituency. Honorable Speaker, I just want to bring the focus today is on blood donor. And in saying that, I want to encourage government to actually invest in ensuring that the donor is motivated to go out there. And in this case, who is a donor? All of us are donors. Our constituents are donors. Which we used to have occasions where when blood is being donated, people are motivated by with beverages and all that. And so you see a lot of people line up to come and donate. I believe that under emergency situations, blood donation is a very critical thing for us to undertake. And so everyone who goes through that or does the sacrifice needs some motivation in order to be able to do that freely. And for blood to be safe, it means that there's a need for us to also donate ahead of time so that the necessary processes, due diligence is done to ensure the safety of blood so that the user at the end of the day is safe. I therefore want to briefly call or suggest to this August House, if it is possible, Honorable Speaker, for the House to have a day for members to donate in order to encourage the general public and also institute some or same investments so that we will bring people on board, get people to come and support and encourage others to donate. So I call on the House to get a day for us to donate. And I'm sure that at the end of the day, we'll be contributing to national good. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Member, hold on. Let me... Is Honorable Member for Europe Krobo here? Is not here. And Honorable Member for Chichima West is also not here. Minister for Labour. That's joint statement in respect of Labour. So once they are not here, it means I'll drop that statement and invite Honorable Member for Okaikwe North, Honorable Teresa Ladi Awuni, to make a statement on the occasion of World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Honorable Member, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to make a statement on the floor of this August House on the occasion of the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Mr. Speaker, the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day is commemorated each year on 15th June to highlight one of the worst manifestations of ageism and inequality in our society, elder abuse. Honorable Speaker, elder abuse is any act which causes harm to the older person and is carried out by someone they know and trust, such as a family member or friend. The abuse may be physical, social, financial, psychological, or sexual, and can include mistreatment and neglect. Right, Honorable Speaker, the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day was officially recognized by the United Assembly in December 2011, following a request by the International Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse, who first established the commemoration in 2006. Right, Honorable Speaker, this day's main objective is to promote better awareness of elders' abuse and negligence through cultural, social, and economic processes. Many elders are left at an old age home. They do not get proper care and attention. Making an effort to spend some time with them over a weekend and making sure they feel protected is an excellent way of spreading awareness. The theme for this year's World Elder Abuse Awareness Day 2021 is Lifting Up Voices. The theme Lifting Up Voices, Right Honorable Speaker, is appropriate because in many parts of the world, including Ghana, elder abuse occurs with little recognition or response. It is an issue which affects the health, well-being, independence, and human rights of millions of elderly people around the world, and an issue which deserves the attention of our country and in all our communities. Mr. Speaker, reports from the World Health Organization, United Nations, and other international bodies have prominently featured elder abuse and highlighted the range of harmful activities. According to the United Nations, every 1 out of 6 elders experience some form of abuse in their everyday life. Mr. Speaker, older people are essential in the fabric of our society. It's time for us to acknowledge their importance and recognize they are entitled to the respect of their communities, especially their families. Mr. Speaker, when we were growing up, we loved being around grandparents. We have learned so many life-changing lessons by just living with the elders and hearing them narrate their life experiences. We were made to understand that the elders are the people clothed with wisdom and knowledge and should be given the necessary respect and honor. And indeed, elders are clothed with wisdom and knowledge. Even in the August House, Mr. Speaker, oldest MPs are clothed with the necessary parliamentary experience, and we, the new members, have to rely on them for their rich experiences. Mr. Speaker, the situation is not the same in present Ghana. We grew up and get busy with our lives errands. We tend to ignore the elderly and their existence. In many households, they gradually turn into a burden with nowhere else to go, and hence left to be in the house. The younger generation forget that these were the people who took care of their demands when they were young. Slowly, knowingly or unknowingly, these things turn into abuse. In fact, Mr. Speaker, some young persons today go to the extent of attributing their shortcomings or failure in life to the elderly men and women in their families or communities. The most abused of these are the old ladies. They are often tagged as witches. Such abuses have led to the infamous Gambaga witches camp in the northern region of our dear country. Mr. Speaker, this camp housed many older women of ages of no less than 60 years and above. They have been abused by families and communities simply because of old age. Mr. Speaker, sometimes it is the accused husband who will raise the accusation and other family members will endorse it. This was what a victim of an accused at the Gambaga witches camp have had to say, which is reported in the crowdafrican.com, an NGO, and I quote, Mr. Speaker, "Accusations started when my son, the firstborn, died through a road accident. After the final funeral rites of my son, some members of my husband's family, some of the community members, the village chief and his elders decided to do soothsaying to find out the cause of the accident leading to the death of my son. I told them I wasn't in support of the idea because as a Muslim, it is against our religion and that didn't go down well with them. I was summoned to the chief by the chief and elders and accused of bewitching my son. Once I refused for them to carry out the soothsaying. The question is, why should a woman go through this emotional abuse after losing a child? What happens to the man, the husband? The two gave birth to the son. So why only the woman? The consequences, if indeed the accident was as a result of witchcraft. Mr. Speaker, the most recent grievous incident of this abuse that shook the entire nation was late Equiadente, a 90-year-old woman who was gruesomely stoned to death on alleged witchcraft in a community in the Savannah region. Every year there is a considerable increase in the number of elders in society. This number is expected to keep growing in the next 10 years. Mr. Speaker, with the growth in the number of elderly, the abuse rate towards them is also likely to rise. It has led to a situation where we have seen elderly destitute on our streets. The abuse from our families and communities. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I therefore call on my colleagues and Ghanaians at large to let us be more protective and respectful of our elders. We should help elders find respect and love in society. Our homes are happy and cheerful when it is a combination of the blessings and learning from the elders and the mindfulness, respect and love for their elders. Let us check on each elderly person living around us. Let us be their source of strength and make them more secure and all aware of their human rights. In case of need, let every honorable member host an awareness program to uplift the elderly in their community and constituencies, because these come in very handy and helpful. Mr. Speaker, let us focus on bringing more respect and love than the current abusive treatment. We are there today because they were there for us yesterday. Let us all lift our voices. I end my remarks by stating the famous saying, they help us grow our teeth. We in turn should help them lose their teeth. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honorable member for Osipuma Odobin Braka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for permitting me to contribute to the statement by my dear sister, Honorable Ladi Awuni. Mr. Speaker, I want to tackle or contribute on two fronts, the cultural aspect of it and then religious aspect of it.
But be snappy, please.
Mr. Speaker, in our cultural setting and in the past, we know that one who is elder than you should be well respected and treated as such. But what do we find today? All in the name of civilization, modernism, and human rights. When the child attains the age of 18, he feels you cannot control him or her any longer. And they go off way to do whatever they want to do. Mr. Speaker, it is very common that we find our children nowadays in a situation where they gather as a gang and engage in social norms such as drug abuse and whatnot. All these things contribute to the disrespect that is going on for the elderly in our society at the moment. Mr. Speaker, the Bible teaches us, and if you permit me to quote, Exodus 20:12. It tells us that we should honor our parents so that our days, he said, honor your mother and father so that your days may be long on this earth. It tells us that when you disrespect them, it means your days are going to be shorter on this earth. But no wonder we are dying young. Mr. Speaker, the Holy Quran also enjoins us to be very respectful to our elders. And the Quran verse, Mr. Speaker, the Quran chapter 17, verses 23 to 24. Wow. It enjoins us that we should be respectful to our parents and that we should give unfailing courtesies to our parents, and that when one of them or both of them attain the old age, we should address them with excellent speech, and that we should not accord them any or scold them, so that our days may be longer on this earth. The Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. That's the meaning. Amen. It's quoted to have said that anybody who disrespects an elderly is not a member of his community. So even the Bible, the Quran, Mr. Speaker, if you allow me to quote the saying of the Buddhists, Buddhism teaches that old age is a time of great suffering, and that once we all attain old age, we should ensure that we respect
the elderly. And that when you disrespect them, it means you are doomed forever. That is what the teachings of the Buddhism. So, Mr. Speaker, you can see that we have to respect our elderly, not to scold them, give excellent speeches to them, address them with excellent speech, so that our days may be longer on this earth. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I thank you very much for allowing me to contribute to the...
Yes, honourable member for Botiano, Sylvester. Honourable Sylvester Matthew Tete. Honourable, you may take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement made by my able sister and my church member, for that matter, Honourable Awuni Teresa. Mr. Speaker, I think and I believe this is not the first time such a statement is made on the floor of the House in respect to the abuse of the elderly in our society. What it means is that Parliament or government have not taken giant steps in addressing this situation in our country. Mr. Speaker, the maker of the statement made it clear that it is an abuse of old age in our society. Trivialize this issue. Mr. Speaker, whilst government work to increase the life expectancy of our citizenry, others are also abusing the same feat we are trying to achieve. Mr. Speaker, I think in this on the floor of the House, let us take concrete steps. Up till today, I believe we can count quite a number of homes around this country that these abusive acts are being perpetrated on innocent Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, there is a correlation between poverty and abuse of old age in our society. Mr. Speaker, I haven't seen a rich or well-to-do old man or woman ever abused in any of our communities in this country. Why? Therefore, we must take giant steps to ensure that we reduce poverty in our country. Ignorance and the psyche of some of our cultural practices is also leading to these kind of situations in our country. Mr. Speaker, this should not be viewed with political lenses in this country. The Ministry for Gender and Social Protection must take steps to decommission. And there are some religious sects or camps or so-called prayer camps in this country that these abuses are going on as sex centers. Mr. Speaker, the maker of the statement has also said that members of Parliament must take steps to sensitize and conscientize the members of our society. I believe that if not in my community, obviously somebody is here who knows of a witch camp or a spiritualist somewhere that they are chaining people and abusing. Apart from insulting elderly that we all frown upon, that I believe society is fighting, physical abuse is what the statement is talking about. And Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I want to urge the House to ensure we take steps and urge government and ministries and departments, especially Department of Social Welfare, to go to the aid of innocent Ghanaian elderly people who are abused. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honourable member for Kumbungu.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you very much for the opportunity to associate myself with the debate. We all know that old age awaits everybody. Whether you like it or not, you will become old. Nobody can escape from becoming old. So it is important that we pay attention to the elderly. And I must commend the maker of the statement for touching on such an important subject matter. I must mention, Mr. Speaker, that elders need time. They need socialization. At the old age, they need people to be around them and spend quality time with them. But unfortunately, what we see today is the reverse. I use myself as a personal example. I make sure any time that I am back to my constituency, the first point of call is to go and see my parents. I have been fortunate to have both parents still alive. Then I go to them and spend time with them. And I must confess that this time I spend with them give them some level of satisfaction that nothing else can do. So they are so happy about that. I will urge other colleagues in the society to all try as much as possible to spend quality time with the elderly. The other thing is that elderly people need food. But unfortunately, we don't find that in many communities, especially in the rural communities. They are supposed to prepare special meal because at that time, their bodies or the quality of life they need, the type of food that they prepare at the homes cannot support that. So they need quality food. So we need, as a society, to try as much as possible to encourage people to give quality food to the elderly. Government should relook at the LEAP, because the LEAP was targeting the elderly, trying to support them so that at least. But today, if you go to the districts, the communities, I can talk for Kumbongo, you will rather find young and energetic guys, who are benefiting from the LEAP and leaving the elderly, the weak, who cannot work. Government should revisit, do proper auditing, and make sure that we scrutinize and identify the right people to benefit from the LEAP. The other critical thing is that you go to the hospitals and you will still see people struggling for healthcare. That is not acceptable. You will see elderly people in queues. You will see them struggling to go and run tests. Sometimes some of them don't have the resources to undertake such tests. Government should take steps to try as much as possible to relook at the for the elderly and trying to make sure that the elderly don't struggle to get health care. I think, Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I thank you for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Yes, let me come to leadership. Honorable Member for Asante Achim North, then we come to this side. I believe leader may yield it, and I'll give it to the lady. Honorable Balabambo, you have spoken today. So I always want people who have not spoken. So, Honorable Member for Asante Achim North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this beautiful discussion. I've listened with rapt attention the submission by my colleagues in the House, all paying particular attention or calling for Ghana to pay particular attention to the aged. Indeed, I want to bring the legal dimension to the discussion, and I start with the expectations and requests and our focus on children, their health, their education, and what have you as a nation. And we have done enough by way of social interventions and also putting responsibilities on the advanced age people to look after the children. Unfortunately, when the laws and regimes compel us to do justice to the upbringing of the children in the country, we don't have any legal institutions or arrangements or mechanisms that will compel the beneficiaries of our libraries to also do same in reciprocity to the aged. Suffice it to say that you go to some hospitals and you have dedicated wards for. We, as a country, we have enacted the Children's Act that puts compulsion on us as advanced age people to look. But the same children who are beneficiaries of our sweat, when they grow up, there is no such legislation to direct their attention to the aged. It becomes an unbalanced system. So, just in the same way as legislation compels us to look after the interests of children, I expect that there must be legislation also which will also compel the beneficiaries of our toil to also look after us when we are in old age. So I envisage that this House will consider drafting a reciprocal act called to also bring a state attention to the aged. We have talked, we have made suggestions, but what is missing is a compulsion supported by law for us to look after the aged. In recent times, we have also enacted legislation that compels the state to compulsorily, and indeed it comes from the Constitution, compulsorily offer education to the youth. I am not doubting the need. But what I'm also adding is that when we have done our due, natural justice requires that the beneficiaries also pay their due. So I'm calling for a legal regime that will ensure a sustainable reference to the aged as a state, as institutions, and as persons. Now, as we speak, under the Children's Act, they say the best interest of the child, under all circumstances, even including decisions taken by parents. And you could go to prison if you neglect to do your parental duties. But the children, when they grow up, they become big men. They don't have any responsibility to look after their fathers and mothers, let alone civil society. So my contribution now is what we have done for the youth. Let us also do something so that they will also pay something in return. We have all kinds of social interventions, something like even the National Health Insurance. For the youth, you come under a certain regime that requires the state sponsorship under certain circumstances. But for the aged, you have to fend for yourself. And in most cases, the state is even not there to support you. So please, all interventions that are social in orientation, there must be proviso in the appropriate legislation that will also facilitate the state attention to the aged and also give us, the aged, also a quota in the enjoyment of certain benefits under such institutions. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity, but I, with all humility, seek your indulgence to make reference of this statement to the appropriate committees for us to look at a possibility of generating either being a private member's bill that will result in the creation of legislation that will direct the state and also direct institutions and above all even direct beneficiaries of state and personal benefits to also return the goodwill to the aged. I thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yes. Finally, Honorable Member for Ladadekotopon, Honorable Rita Sua. Honorable Rita Sua.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement by my honourable colleague, Honourable Teresa Ladi Awuni, on the occasion of World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, under the theme Lifting Up Voices. Mr. Speaker, it is time that we all lift up our voices against the abuse of the elderly in our society. We were all once babies. Today we are growing. Tomorrow we will be in the aged bracket. How do we expect our children and our grandchildren to treat us? Mr. Speaker, one thing that's sad is that in Ghana we have the witches' camp. We do not have a wizard's camp, meaning it is only women who are in this practice. Now we have the word witches and then we have wizards. Why don't we have wizards' camp? I think the time has come that we advocate for the abolition of the witches' camp if we cannot have a wizards' camp. Mr. Speaker, it happens that most of the time, the poor in our society are those who are abused. And it happens that most of the time they don't have it. Government has put in place the LEAP. And the LEAP registration, I want to speak to it that most of the time it turns out to be partisan. And we need to arise, lift up our voice, and speak against the partisan nature of the LEAP. And I'm advocating also that government should put in place measures so that we will know the actual people from the LEAP. And then the money should also be increased so that they can be able to take care of themselves. Sometimes it happens that the family are not in good standing to take care of the elderly in the society. But that does not mean we should abuse them. You go to places, you realize that people, when they are going to give even food to their grandmother or their grandparents or their mother, they just push the food through the door, which I don't think it is right. I'm calling on us as members of parliament in support of our sister statement that we all should add our voices. In my constituency recently, the aged, a group of them came to me. What do they want? They just want me to take them for an excursion because they said they don't need anything. And so we need to show them love. We need to set the pace, take the lead in our constituencies to make sure that we take proper care of the aged. Mr. Speaker, like I said from the beginning, we are all heading towards old age. And there is the need for us to make sure that we take good care of our elderly in our society to ensure that when we also get there, proper care will be taken of us. On this note, I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, I can suggest from the response that almost everybody here is tired. So let me take indications from the available leader what he wants to do.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I think the day has been well spent and the industry has been very good. So proceedings should come to a close and I'll move on our agenda.
Yes, Honourable Deputy Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, second motion.
Honourable members, the House is accordingly adjourned till Wednesday, the 16th of June, 2021 at 10 o'clock in the forenoon. I thank all of you very much for your